Okay, well, good evening, everybody. It's on the dot of 7:30, so we'll make a start. Good to see so many coming out tonight, and thanks all for coming down to this lecture put on with the help of the School of Mathematics and Physics here at Queen's University. I'm Paul, as everyone knows. I'm just going to go through a few admin things, and we'll have a little look at the stars and stuff, and then we've got our main speaker, Dr. Stuart Sim, here. So let's get on with the first sort of line of business, same sort of thing as before. This is the last time, honestly, that I'm going to nag you about membership fees, because there's been a fair few have come in recently. Just to remind you really that it's well worth joining up, and it's only 20 quid or 25 for the whole family, and you'll get, if you've signed up in time, you'll get the next Stardust, which is coming out quite shortly. If you haven't signed already, you can see Brian at the end there, our membership secretary. That's Brian, and you can pay by PayPal on the website if you want to do it that way. That's no bother either. Our website is very regularly updated with the latest information about what we're doing and what's going on in the world of astronomy. We also have a forum where we coordinate the observing, and a very lively Facebook group with some 900 members in. So keep an eye on all those if you're into Facebook. That's a good place to be. Otherwise, keep an eye on the website for updates and stuff there. That's really how we get out to people, let them know what's going on. Excuse me if I'm a little bit croaky as well. I've been coughing and spluttering a bit, but I think the worst of it's gone. Observing, now we did have a very successful observing night, not the weekend just gone, but the weekend before, the 17th of November. We actually managed to get one of those very rare clear nights where a group went down to Delamont Country Park and had a good look around the sky there with Ivan, and Ivan is our sort of resident go-to, and he knows his way around the stars without a computer, which is quite extraordinary. The next opportunity for that, and it's a good night out if you can do it, would be the 15th, 16th of December. The deal is we pick ideally the Friday evening, if the weather is clear, and if not, we look at the Saturday. And if neither of those works, we look to the following weekend, which is the 22nd or 23rd. I'm not quite sure how many people will be up for a trip out at that time, but they might be at the Christmas party or something like that. We'll have a look and see if it's a good night. Maybe we'll have an evening out there. So all of those dates, by the way, are sort of worked out relating to sort of stuff like phases of the moon and so on, so that you're not, we wouldn't send you out to see dark sky objects on a full moon or anything like that. We'll look at the moon in a moment. Our exhibition is up and running at Carrickfergus, the very impressive civic centre there, and it's a great venue for the exhibition. It's been to, I think it's the 5th one we've actually done now, and they're all very good, and they're all just a little bit different, although they feature the same 40 actual photographs. Each one's got some other exhibits. This one's got a lot of space memorabilia from both our own members, Andy here and Terry, and our observatory have actually put some antique stuff in there, so that's well worth a visit at the Civic Centre in Carrickfergus, right in the middle of town, just by the shopping centre. Very, very good venue. We had a launch event there a week and a half ago on the Friday, and we had a little afternoon on the Saturday as well afterwards. Just some random pictures from the Friday evening there. This is the exhibition here. So we've got 40 photos around the side there. Antique telescopes, Saturn V rocket, various old cameras and stuff. There's a little story about that. Actually, I was asked if any of the exhibits that they have in the museum would be suitable, and I identified 2 cameras that were mechanical film cameras that astrophotographers would use, and then I just put a little note against one of the others that is of no astrophotography interest whatsoever. It's a Kodak Instamatic 33, which was my first camera in 1973. So there we are. That's our member Bernie taking some photographs of the staff there. It's Terry, obviously, Heather from the observatory, Danny from the IAA, the Deputy Mayoress of Mid and East Antrim, Shirin, who runs the exhibits at the museum, Bernie Brown, our member photographer, and Dr. Mike Sims, who's up here today. And that was a good good gathering. Just some upcoming events. We have another lecture here in 2 weeks' time, and this is the big one. This is the one you don't want to miss at all. Terry and Andy will be talking about their experiences in the United States for the eclipse last August, and that's definitely one not to be missed because it'll be excellent. The New Year party, keep the date in the diaries. Saturday the 6th of January. We'll get forms out on the website shortly for that, but that's the date it is. It's the usual format. McBride's in Comber for a meal at 5:30, followed by a movie in the Tudor Cinema. That'll be good. And then our first lecture of the next part of the season, Brian McGavin, who's been here before, is coming up from Galway Astronomy Club to talk to us, and he's always good crack, excellent guy and great speaker. So we're looking forward to that. That's things coming up, I think. Okay, onwards with just a little look at things. I'll turn the lights down a bit more so we can see exactly what's going on. Right, the sun is almost completely dead at this moment, not in terms of light output, fortunately, but in terms of sunspots, there is just this little thing here called 2689, which is just about to go over the edge in any case, and then the sun will be completely blank unless anything new comes around here. And the notable thing actually was that I was just looking at the last time I talked to you about this 4 weeks ago, and at that point 23% of days of this year had been spotless, and now that's gone up to 26 in the last 4 weeks. So it's quite obvious if you look at these numbers here from 2009, where things sort of suddenly started to come back to life. There were from 2011, 12, 13, there were no spotless days. There was just one in 2014 and none in 2015, and then suddenly 32 last year and 87 so far this year, with 11/12 of the year gone. So the sun is definitely going down into the solar minimum again. Solar cycle 24 is pretty much dead and gone. Doesn't mean that the sky is any less interesting. There is an active coronal hole at the moment on the sun. This is just today's picture, and the solar wind stream from that is expected to arrive sometime tonight or tomorrow. It's not huge, but it might just lighten up the sky a little bit. So they're talking sort of possible G1 class storm, but really auroras will be higher latitudes only. You might get a little bit from the north coast or so, but probably nothing to write home about. Planets. The dearth of planets continues. If you want to see planets, you have to get up early in the morning. Mercury has been an evening visitor. However, it's not a good apparition, and such is the angle of the ecliptic that it's not been very high above the horizon at sunset. And if anyone's seen that, I would be very surprised. And likewise, Saturn is in roughly the same place, and Mercury is actually going down, and so is Saturn. So I think, although you could theoretically, on a really good ideal situation, you could see Mercury and Saturn in the evening, it's very, very difficult. I'd be surprised if anyone has. Venus is more or less gone. I think I did see Venus around about the 16th or 17th of November, but it is diving in towards the sun now and will emerge next year as an evening star. But you might just get Venus again if you've got a very, very clear east horizon a little bit before sunset, but that's getting more and more difficult each day, so you probably won't see that. But higher up now, Mars and Jupiter. Mars and Jupiter are visible before sunrise in the morning, and the best placed planets are Uranus and Neptune, neither of which is very bright, both of which are hard to find. I did the star maps on that the last time I talked to you, so I won't go through it again, but Uranus is in Pisces, Neptune is in Aquarius, both quite easy to find in the evening, both disappointing to see in all but the largest telescopes, because Uranus I've only ever seen as a green blob and Neptune as a blue blob. So the star of the show is the International Space Station, and there's a whole bunch of space station passes coming up, this time in the evening. Last time we did this it was in the morning, but here's a whole load of them starting tonight. Minus 1.2. The pick of these would probably be The first really good one, Saturday the 2nd of December, there's a minus 2.5 at 6:30, rising to 32 degrees, that's quite good. Then the 4th, that'll be Monday the 4th, again just before 6:30, 44 degrees and a minus 3.1 magnitude. The brightest of these is on the 6th of December, 6:15 in the evening, rising to 50 degrees. That is the highest you will ever get from Belfast, because we're not under the orbit at any point. The orbit is inclined 51.5 degrees and we're at 54.5, so we don't get right underneath it. But it is high enough up that we can see it pretty well. So well worth looking out for the space station. Again, these start to become slightly less bright and less high down to the very last visible pass on the 17th of December. So keep an eye out for the space station. Always worth seeing, very bright. Here's a nice photograph, might be called sort of the last visible Venus of this particular time as a morning star. This is Martin Campbell. What I didn't get, Terry, you sent me this, and it doesn't say, it didn't say where it came from, where it's taken from. I don't know what. Yeah, I thought. No, but. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, it's a very nice composition, and here Venus, Jupiter, and a thin waning crescent moon with a good wodge of Earth shine on it as well. That's light reflected back from the Earth, lighting up the moon. Some say that that's indicative of a lot of weather going on, and it makes a certain amount of sense that if there are a lot of white clouds on the part of the Earth facing the moon, then it throws back more light. So there we go. That's a nice photograph from the 16th of November. That's one of mine. That was a quick snap of Monday evening's moon. I just like the way it's got Clavius just as an outline there, which is quite nice. But just to give you an idea of where the moon is in the sky, it's full this coming weekend, 2nd and 3rd of December. The last quarter is the 10th. It's new again on the 17th of December, and more about why that's good news in a moment. And the first quarter moon is on the 26th of December, i.e. Boxing Day. So there we go. Now there's a whole lot in this that I'm going to talk about. Well, it comes out pretty well too. The winter sky is really quite fabulous, and this is set for the 14th of December at 1 o'clock in the morning, i.e. the night of the 13th. And that is the night of the Geminid meteor shower. And what I was saying about the moon phases earlier, this year, unlike last year, the Geminids aren't going to be drowned out by a bright moon. So we've got a good chance, weather permitting, to see some good Geminids this year. It is caused by, unusually, uniquely amongst the main meteor showers, caused by an asteroid rather than a comet. And the asteroid is 3200 Phaethon, which has left a dust trail that we move into. And actually, it's believed that sort of in recent years that the interaction of that dust trail with the gravity of Jupiter has actually made it better for us in terms of moving a bit more dust in towards Earth's orbit around that time. First seen in 1833 from a riverboat on the Mississippi. So I'm not sure what happened to cause that, or whether it had been there a long time before and just... oh, I didn't turn the lights off. Oh, I did. I'm leaning against the light switch. I'll leave it like that for a moment because it's good. So we have the familiar winter sky here, dominated of course by Orion, which is looking really good now. I'm sort of coming up into the evening sky. Orion, we know well, the two very bright stars, Betelgeuse, the red one, Rigel, the bluish white one, and they are approximately, give or take, the same brightness. And because of the possibility of Betelgeuse going supernova, I always look at them carefully each year to go, well, is that, is it a little bit brighter? I don't know. I've never come to any conclusion that it is, but any time in the next several million years, I think Betelgeuse could explode, and we might be the lucky generation that gets to see it. Or, but the stats aren't in our favour. So we have the belt of Orion here and these swords down here with Messier 42 in it. Follow his belt downwards to come to the brightest star in the sky, Sirius. You can see Sirius twinkling away nicely, close to the horizon in the evenings now. And go up the other way, come to Aldebaran, and then further on to the Pleiades or Seven Sisters. And it is, those of you who attended my Stardome sessions will know that that counting the Pleiades is one of the favourite games, because although it sounds like the easiest game in the world, for some people there aren't 7 sisters, there are only 6, and for some there are 9 or 10. It's a good game to play. But the area of general interest here for the meteor shower is the Geminids. We have this sort of the twins, Castor and Pollux there, and actually just above Castor is where the radiant of the Geminids meteor shower is. That's not where you want to be looking. What you really want to be doing is getting a sun lounger lying down in the garden and looking perhaps some 30 degrees or so around that. So let's just say somewhere in these areas. So you could look, if you looked around the head of Leo, that might be a good hunting ground to see Geminid meteors, or up in Auriga, round about Capella, or round by the Seven Sisters and Taurus and Aldebaran. Anywhere that's about 30 or so degrees away from that radiant is where you need to be looking. So I think I'll leave it there for the minute. That's the night of Wednesday the 13th, which is to say directly after our next meeting, really. And if it's clear, then you can go out. After midnight is better, just because that side of the Earth is facing into the dust trail that we're waiting for meteors to come from. So that will be it. Next 2 weeks' time tonight. So that's all I have to say about the stars. I will just put some light back on here. I'm going to introduce our main speaker, and our main speaker should be well known to most of you because he's a lecturer here at Queen's University. Dr. Stuart Sim lectures in the Astrophysics Research Centre here and is going to talk to us tonight about antimatter in the Milky Way. Now, that's the subject of his team's work, which is understanding the current antimatter content of our galaxy and where this comes from. And he'll talk about the evidence, mostly from gamma ray observations, that there is antimatter in our galaxy, and then discuss some of the ideas about how it is being produced. So please welcome Dr. Stuart Sim.